How are you doing? And welcome back to Taekwondo, bro. So, as you can tell by the title, we got some big news, and I'm starting a new martial art. And by the time I upload this video, it's probably going to be quite a little bit in because I'm a little bit busy right now with other projects. But I'm starting kickboxing, and it felt like a good one to pick because it's like similar enough to Taekwondo where it's not like a totally foreign thing, but it's also like you're learning new things still. Like, I don't want to go over the same techniques forever. So there's a lot of different styles to learn. And you can see by the overlay right now, I'm just putting some, martial arts stuff up there. Either, I don't know what I'm going to use yet, either some old videos on my channel, or I've heard that there's stock footage now I can use on YouTube. But regardless, so we're going to get into just a little bit of like story about what it's like coming back to like a different style after taking some time off. So like for me, for example, I probably took a little bit over 5 years off from active training, and that sounds kind of crazy. I mean, because I went so long. Essentially, I went like over 14 years of like continuous training, and then yeah, just to take time off like that is crazy. Now, it's not like I never practiced in that time frame. I would go to the heavy bag at the gym and I would do like, some pretty significant workouts there from time to time. And I would also get together and spar, either my brother or some of my friends occasionally. But it never really worked out to be like enough where, you'd say like, hey, I'm just gonna, keep the flame going over here, do X, Y, and Z per week. And, it does definitely make a difference, but at the same time, the level of fitness and cardio is just, it's hard to replicate it. Like, for example, when I started going back to my first few classes, in the beginning it felt familiar. Like, obviously I've done these motions before. I've done this kind of, warm up, exercise, kicks, this and that. But for the first few classes, the cardio just wasn't there. And I thought it would be because I'd been like doing some running, some cycling, even swimming at the gym sometimes. And, cardio is cardio, but when it comes to sparring, it's always just a higher level because you can't slow down when it comes to sparring, because your opponent will just, outpace you, start landing hits, this and that. And on top of that, the classes, they're about like an hour. So just high paced, moving around, keeping that stance, throwing techniques, this and that. I honestly was tired. Like, I couldn't keep up a high pace for long like I used to. So immediately once, I got out of those classes, I turned up my like cardio. Like for a week, I was, gonna run a little bit more, bike a little bit more, because I just wanted to bridge that gap as quickly as I could. Because especially the way that I've always been training and fighting, I like moving quickly, you know, covering distance, this and that. And then if I'm gassed, I just can't keep it up. It just changes the calculations a little bit too much. And I guess if we're going on story time, might as well here. That I was sparring initially with some of my old shin pads because, in kickboxing, you got your mouthpiece, you got your cup, boxing gloves, and then they have these like foot pad and shin pads, like they're connected to each other. And I had ordered some, but they weren't quite there yet. So I was using the old karate ones that, they like connect via Velcro, like the foot is not connected to the shin. And, it went pretty well, but they had just been kind of worn out. I mean, they were worn out when I put them into storage, and to just bust them back out for this, they were like starting to like cut up my feet a little bit, this and that. So, and that was like another thing like slowing me down. Like I have this like foot pad like chewing into my leg, and I also am just out of shape. So it was, two things I was battling against in the ring even before I got to my opponent. And I guess we can talk about some of the differences that are evident between kickboxing and, taekwondo and martial arts like that so far. I've talked about this before on the channel because those martial arts, they're kind of similar. I mean, it's kicking and punching and contact and moving this and that. But one thing I've noticed so far is that when it comes to the stances, Taekwondo, we know this. You switch foot. You go left foot forward, right foot forward. They train you to fight ambidextrously, and it's for good reason because you can switch it up. And when it comes to like point sparring and like high speed kind of movements like that, you want to have the optionality. They don't do that in kickboxing. I mean, you'll throw some kicks on the left foot, the right foot, on the heavy bag, working on this. But when it comes to like the really detailed, doing some techniques on your partner, slipping punches, doing a little combo, they don't train on the offside. So that's one big difference. And, I was always used to doing it back in like Taekwondo. Like whatever you would do on one side, you would always do it on the other. And I guess that would just build it up. But I also see the advantage of just not like wasting time on something you're not going to use. Like if you're just not going to switch to southpaw and utilize any of those techniques, then you might as well just refine the right side a little bit more. Now, I feel like I have an advantage in that sense because, I am good on both sides, so I can switch it up. And I'm going to try to, work that into it because, I'm there to learn new things. I'm not just here like rewinding over things I've done. So I've been making a big effort in the beginning right now to just kind of accept everything as it is, get good at it, and then once I get like a better baseline level with the new stances, new techniques, new combos, then I'm going to start mixing it up because I don't want to like bring the old in as like a crutch, because like I do this technique better, so you're going to gravitate towards not doing the new one, and then with enough time you've like neglected training a certain technique, and that'll bite you. So I've been making a huge effort into just letting everything be right now, getting that cardio back up, and then once, things kind of equalize, then we're going to get into some really nice, hybrid territory here, and I'll definitely do some cool videos about that.